Well, hello everyone, and welcome in once again to Dick and Constance Borgie. Well, the two former Jehovah's Witnesses out of South Carolina. And boy, I'll tell you, they got a lot to share with us. And they've been helping us every week so far. And I do believe tonight they're going to be on the same subject. You know, when you're in the Watchtower, and even when you leave the Watchtower, you have issues mentally. You struggle with a lot of things. And I'll tell you what, we've been getting, Susan and I have been up all this week, every night, people calling us in after they're going to the convention. And, you know, I got thinking of Dick and Constance a lot because of all of the issues that we're hearing. So many people that we've been talking to on the phone this week, you know, they really have been hurt by the Watchtower, more than I even realized. A lot of them, you know, some of us have come out of the Watchtower pretty unscathed, but there's others that have really been hurt, and our heart goes out for them. And Dick and Constance in the last few weeks, and I think we'll discuss some of it here tonight as well, on some of the issues, some of the mental issues that Jehovah's Witness, that is even Jehovah's Witnesses, as well as people getting out of the witness movement. So let's bring Constance and Dick on right now. Hello, Constance and Dick.
Hi, Rick.
So I kind of just assumed I should have called you, but I think you'll be talking a little more about the mental illness issues.
That's correct.
I thought so. I just wanted to make sure I didn't put you on the spot. You guys, you've been on the spot before. You can handle it. You guys you got thick enough skin, so that's good. All right. Well, I'll step out of here. Let you guys do it, and we'll go to about 8:30. And then on my news tonight, I got a man coming in from Norway that everyone's going to enjoy. But we're looking forward to your program. So I'm here if you need me.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Rick.
Well, good evening, everybody. And thank you for joining in to the Connie and Dick Borgie show. We're going to talking about mental illness in the Watchtower. And I'm just going to open it up with a little segment on my experience as a youngster. And I know the experience that I had is not shared by everybody in the audience, but when I grew up, when I came home from school in the 4th, 5th, 7th grade, I'd always come home. My mother would give me a big hug and kiss and ask me how my day was. I always felt very secure in my family arrangement. My dad was supportive. I always knew if life threw a problem at me, that my parents could handle it or help me to handle it. I was very secure with that. So I grew up happy and I grew up secure, and it was a wonderful experience as a youth. But I will tell you that when I became a Jehovah's Witness after spending 4 years in the military, I also believed that our Heavenly Father was influencing all of the decisions that the governing body made. And I knew it was perilous times. I was told that Armageddon was coming in 75. And I had a conviction, a very strong conviction, that if some problem came my way, such as Armageddon, the biggest problem mankind could ever have, that the governing body would tell me where to go, what to do, and they would protect me. I believed in them. I believed that they were inspired by Holy Spirit. They were part of the anointed. They spoke directly to Jehovah God himself. That's what I believed. Years later, 20 years later, I come to find out that none of that is true. None of it. The governing body does not love you. As a matter of fact, it hates you. But the part that they love about you is your donations, your free labor, and the adoration that you show towards them and the power that comes with that. They really love the power, and they try to hide it, but they're living very high on the hog. That's what they are. Sorry, I'm a little lost in my notes here. When we come to the realization that Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult, the governing body are just using you, when that realization that our Heavenly Father does not direct the governing body and that you've been hoodwinked, what happens to your peace and security? What happens to your joy? We're going to be getting into joy in just a minute. But there was a little thing on YouTube a couple of months back, and I just want to relate the story. A young brother, his parents died in an automobile accident, and he was the only child. So the house that he lived in went to him. Also, there was a major lawsuit involved in the death of the parents. So the young man was flushed with money, and he marries a young sister in the congregation, and they put an application in to Bethel for Bethel service. They donate all the money from the sale of the house. They donate all the money from the lawsuit. Must have been thousands and thousands of dollars. And this is back in the early 60s. So they go to Bethel and they serve there for 40 years. No Social Security, nothing. And then they're told, we don't need you anymore. Hit the road, Jack. And they're told that the congregation will take care of them. Well, that's a big BS story, because Barbara Anderson had a young man on the program who went to prison for 2 years because of the not going to the draft. And when he came back to his congregation, they didn't receive him well. They just, okay, you did what you're supposed to do. And he wasn't treated special. Nobody tried to put him up for a couple of months till he get his feet on the ground. So this brother goes to Bethel, spends 40 years there, and then he's told, hit the road, and the congregation will take care of you. Well, the congregation wasn't going to take care of him. This guy has no money. He was physically impaired. So was his wife. They had nothing to fall back on. And the congregation says, well, go to St. Vincent de Paul, which is a Catholic charity, and see if you can get some money from them, or
go to food stamps.
Go to food stamps, or can you imagine? Can you imagine that? This Watchtower, they have over $7 billion. I mean billion, not million, $1 billion in assets. You think they could take care of this brother? Nope. Hit the road, Jack. Now, on 6 screens for the last 20 years, we've been talking about this kind of stuff. In the last decade, YouTube has been talking about it. But it's there. The governing body does not love you. It despises you because you're stupid enough to believe their lies, and you don't do your own research. And if you don't do your own due diligence, you are going to pay the price. I want to do a little something about the joy. Can you imagine what it feels like to have given the Watchtower thousands of dollars, worked your backside off for 40 years, and then be told, we don't need you anymore? That couple believed that they would die in Bethel service.
Well, and they thought they had job security.
Job
unquote,
security,
right?
and they would always
be needed.
taken care of.
Okay.
I have an aunt that's a little sister of the Assumption. That's a Catholic order. She was taken care of from the day she took her vows till the day she died. She always had a room to sleep in, and be at a convent, but she always had good food and nice places to live. And now this poor brother, 40 years of Bethel service, and he's told to hit the road. Do you think the governing body loves you? They don't. They really don't. They're going to keep you scared of Armageddon, so you don't have the joy that you should have. And then when you find out that you've been hoodwinked, lied to, and deceived, it's really, really tough to take. And some people will not do the due diligence. Some people will just not let their mind believe that they've been lied to for all those years. joy leads their life, and what Connie's going to be talking about in the next few minutes is joy.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, so many of the brothers and sisters, the ones going to Bethel, and not even the Bethelites, but you're talking about the Bethelites, they put their trust in the organization to be able to financially support them. And excuse me, I'm just getting over a little bit of a cold. They didn't have the ability to have critical thinking skills to really think outside of the box, which is so unfortunate because the governing body at Bethel, I mean, they gained everything from those brothers and sisters, their time, their resources, their youth, their best years of their life. Many gave up, there were many brothers that were single, gave up being married for a while. Then they allowed sisters to come on. So, but many of them gave up having children. You couldn't have children at Bethel. So there were a tremendous amount of sacrifices. And then to find out that down the road, they were kicked out of the organization is very, very sad. Okay, so what I wanted to discuss tonight, we're talking about mental health, but we're, of course, always tying it in with Watchtower. And tonight I wanted to speak about joy. Joy, I want to talk about the definition. I want to talk about its importance, how the immune system, joy affects the immune system, and how even disease can be prevented with joy. Wanted to discuss the social and psychological benefits of joy. And then we wanted to, I know we only have an hour, so then we wanted to discuss about our journey coming out of the organization. I've been out 41 years, and Rich, you've been out 35. So we wanted to discuss about the joyful benefits after leaving the Watchtower. Okay, because there are a lot of challenges trying to sort all of this out. But once, if you do make that decision to leave, there are a lot of joyful benefits. So, okay, first of all, let's just talk briefly about joy. The definition of it is feeling of great pleasure, happiness, and delight that arises from experiences of success, good fortune, or let's see, I'm trying to read my handwriting here, or a deep satisfaction that involves elation, exuberances, or even euphoria. Okay, now, what are some of the physical and mental health benefits of joy? Well, we know that joy can boost your ability to bounce back from stress. There's a tremendous amount of stress in life today, and especially being a witness. Even Anne Marie's show was awesome about the brothers being elders or ministerial servants and plus taking care of their families. That's 2 full-time jobs right there, to be in those capacities plus take care of your family. So there's a tremendous amount of stress, but joy can really boost your ability so you can bounce back from stress. It can help you to solve problems. It can help you to think in a flexible way. And it can even literally help you to fight disease. Okay, remember, as a man thinketh, he is. So like we said 2 weeks ago, your thoughts are extremely important. And that even involves joy. Okay, laughter. We know laughter is very important. Laughter is connected with joy. It can decrease pain. It can actually even help your heart and your lungs, believe it or not. It promotes your muscles to relax, and it can reduce anxiety. And we know, being previous JWs, there's a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety in the organization. And what happens is that joy will trigger these positive changes throughout your body. So the moment that you feel joy, your brain, your blood, and your autonomic nervous system all start working to make that feeling last. It's like, you hear about the runner's high. It can even be with exercising in the gym. But that runner's high, people love to run, the daily run. And they get a run, they call it a runner's high. And it's the endorphins in the brain that have so much happiness and joy, and it makes them feel this elation that like, wow. So that's what we're talking about, how joy can trigger these responses in the brain. Okay, now briefly, the immune system and disease prevention. Well, joy, it strengthens your immune system in remarkable ways. Your immune system can be strengthened by your mental state, because with our immune system, we have immune cells, and they have these little receptors at the end of them, and they're known as neurotransmitters. And there's dopamine, there's norepinephrine, and there's a third one as well. I can't think of it right now, but these are all designed to help you with your chemicals in your brain, as far as happiness or depression, things of that nature. But tonight we're talking about joy. There's been a lot of research that shows that positive emotions like joy, they're linked to strengthening your immune system. And it has an outlook that can enhance your immune function, making the body better equipped to defend against illnesses and against illnesses. Okay, then the other topic I wanted to discuss is social and psychological benefits. Okay, now, a lot of times witnesses have a very difficult time making new friends because their world is just inside. It's very insular. It's just inside the JW organization. And we do know there's a lot of depression. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety in the organization because Watchtower instills that in each and every person. But what I wanted to say as far as joy can definitely be worthwhile to discuss, because when a person's interested in making new friends or new coworkers, you have a new job, you have to assimilate into your new work environment. Joy is really, really important because people can really pick up on your vibes. They can really pick up with your overall countenance. If you're a happy person, or if you're depressed, or you're just fearful of people can really pick that up being around you. And it doesn't take a long time to figure that out. So what's so beautiful about joy is it's so positive, and it helps people to be able to make these social connections, which builds resilience, which is really important because we all need social connections. We all need friends. We all need family. We need those bridges and those communities. And what I'm saying is joy is one of the avenues to be able to reach that goal. The Bible says in Galatians chapter 5, 22 and 23, the fruitage of the Spirit, right? It's love, joy, peace. There's all 9 of them. Isn't it interesting how love is the first one, joy is the second one, and peace is the third one? And what's interesting about it is God knows that how important joy is in our life. And when a person has a sense of joy, it also gives an individual a sense of peace, because you're happy, you're very content, you're very peaceful in yourself, your surroundings, whatever you might be going through in life. So it's very interesting. There's a connection between joy and peace. And then also the other scripture I wanted to say is Romans chapter 15, 13. And it says the importance of joy. It says, may the God of hope, my handwriting here, with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit, you may abound in hope. So joy is very, very important for each and every one of us. Now, if a person has an attitude of joy in their life, one thing that can really help you with that is gratitude. I've mentioned this before. You might be having a bad day, or you might be depressed. You might be in a real bad place. One of the best things that you can do is try to write out in a little tablet or just a piece of paper things that you are very grateful for. And you'd be amazed at how that can really just change your whole attitude, and even make you have an attitude of gratitude, which in turn brings joy. Like, I'm grateful I woke up this morning. I'm grateful I have food, or I'm grateful I have a wonderful husband or a wonderful wife. If you're single, I'm grateful I have animals. I'm grateful, for a beautiful day. I'm grateful I can walk. Do you know what it's like? Do you know what it's like if you can't even walk? I've been around a lot in the hospitals. I saw a gentleman that he had multiple sclerosis, and he was a quadriplegic from the neck down, and he had to have a Hoyer lift. Okay, a Hoyer lift is where it takes you out of the bed. The nurses had to come and bring this Hoyer lift. It was all electronic, and God forbid, they didn't drop him, which they didn't. But to get him into the bed, to bring him all the way down into his motorized wheelchair, because his name was Dan, and the only thing he could do, they had to strap his legs down because he had no control of his legs. He was paralyzed from the neck down, but he could only use his index finger to have his motorized wheelchair go forward, backward, turn around. Now, let me tell you, friends, it is something to be very grateful that you can get up and you can walk and you can bathe yourself and you can shower, put on your makeup, get dressed. Those are known as activities of daily living, and don't ever, ever take that for granted. Don't ever. You can feed yourself. Okay, those are some simple things, but they're very, very important.
Even your eyesight.
Even your eyesight, even being able to hear, being able to speak. Someone who's ever had a stroke, it changes their brain. A lot of times they can't speak. They're paralyzed on one side. Friends, there's a lot to be very grateful for. Just the simple things that, we take for granted when we're healthy. And then all you want to do is just have those things back if you don't have them. So the point I'm trying to say here is the daily experiences that one enjoys, like joy, gratitude, and love. This can have a tremendous effect on a person's personal growth, their personal success, and also being able to help them to have positive social connections. Okay. And let's see. So research consistently shows that cultivating joy is not just about feeling good. It's a measurable contributor to both one's mental and physical health, affecting everything from your immune function to stress resilience and social connections. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about joy. And maybe what we can do, Rich, at this point is discuss about we are out of the organization. We've been out for some time, but some of the joyful benefits that we have encountered, that we have experienced by leaving the organization.
Yeah, that's a good lead in, Connie. For me, I tried to connect with my friends from high school, my cousins and so forth. But I think sometimes when you preach to people for 20 years that I was in the organization, they didn't want to hear it. They thought Jehovah's Witnesses were idiots. And they would I burnt too many bridges, and that was painful. Although I was able to reconnect with a few folks. The fact that I could go out and date whoever I wanted to, because I was divorced, and I could go wherever I wanted to. If I wanted to go to a ball game, if I wanted to stand up for the Star Spangled Banner, I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to worry about, is my sideburns too long, or is the car that I'm driving approved by the elders? All that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was really nice not having to. I told this to Connie this morning. She started to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
I get up in the morning. I'd shave for work. I come back home. I'd have to shave again for the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to be in your 70s now because the beard comes in white and you can get away with not shaving for 2 or 3 days. But that was one thing, and not always having to be in this run home from work. My whole life was rush.
Right.
I did a lot of overtime for the company I worked for. I needed to. Time and a half actually got us over the hump. But one thing I realized is that I never played catch with my boys. And I'm a big baseball guy. I love baseball. I bought them all gloves, but I never played catch with them because it was just it was work, Kingdom Hall, go home, sleep, and do that year after year after year after year. You know?
Well, the organization always comes first.
Yeah, and you know, you lose out on so much.
Yeah.
You don't even have that close personal time with your wife. So when troubles come up, it's awful hard to put a marriage back together again when you don't communicate.
Wow, that's a good point, Rich.
Yeah, so you know that's
point.
one of the the things. But little by little, Armageddon threat started to diminish from my life. Started to diminish, and I just stopped worrying about what people were thinking about about my conduct
That's
or whatever.
a big one. That's a big one.
I was just me, and I was just trying to find things out.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to go to the VA, and they helped me with some of the stuff. And in my vet groups for PTSD, we talked about emotional distress and how it affects you, and it does. And I've told this on 6 screens a few times, but when I came back from Vietnam, I'm sitting home with my parents, and I was wanting to see the Red Skelton show, and I love Lucy. They went back to back in those days. This is 1969. And I'm sitting there, and I couldn't even crack a smile. I couldn't laugh, nothing. My Aflac was absolutely deadline, just flat. And before I would watch I Love Lucy and Red Skelton Hour, and I'd laugh so much I'd pee my pants. I kid you not. And then, so I understood PTSD. That's why we're kind of doing a series on PTSD, and not to get too away from the subject. I absolutely do believe if you're a Jehovah's Witness, either a former Jehovah's Witness or a PMO, and you've been drilled every single meeting almost, or every book that you read, Armageddon, the worst event in mankind's history. If the days weren't cut short, no flesh would survive. If you believe that, and I remember reading the Paradise Earth book and seeing my sons got scared by it. They were small then. They were 8 and 7, something like that, 8 and 9.
The pictures.
Yeah, kids,
Pictures were
little
terrifying.
children falling down into the earth.
Oh yeah. Screaming and
when the earth opened up, swallowed the kids.
Horrible.
This stuff is they didn't get the joy that I had when I grew up.
Exactly.
Because I was always stressed out. Anything they did wrong, I was screaming at them because I was stressed out.
Sure.
Armageddon.
Oh yeah.
Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, they didn't have a normal childhood.
They didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't. And I never really bonded with them.
Yeah. Well, the organization keeps people very, very busy intentionally. They do that so that you don't have time for your family. Many JWs don't have children, but for those that do, still, I wouldn't say the husband and wife have a great marriage because it's all based on Watchtower.
Yep.
Everything's based on Watchtower. The meetings, the assemblies, the study, the service, everything. So there's not one JW that I knew, any of them, that ever took off and had a wonderful family vacation or had any kind of hobbies or anything. No, there was nothing.
Yeah,
It was
hobbies.
all Watchtower, no hobbies.
Vacations were
That's not healthy.
going to a convention somewhere.
That's not healthy, Rich. That is not healthy. People need to have, a vacation where you just have a nice break. That's what a vacation is.
You know what the Watchtower is known for in the congregations? There's a lot of pill popping. There's a lot of alcoholism.
Oh yeah, big time.
There's a lot of people smoking marijuana. And there's a lot of people that need comfort dogs. If you have the Holy Spirit, you don't need a dog.
The service dogs?
Yeah.
That's for anxiety.
That's for anxiety.
That's for anxiety.
And if you have a service dog, you don't have the Holy Spirit. And you don't have, in your mind, you don't have your name written in the book of life either. because that's why you're so stressed out.
Okay, now I wanted to talk about one of the benefits I had. Like I said, I've been out 41 years, but it's just, our time was just so, meticulously structured in that organization. If you wanted to sleep in Saturday after working all week and going to the meetings all week and studying, you didn't go for whatever reason, there was that big, huge guilt trip. So I just loved, Rich. I loved being able to have the freedom to just take my life back and be able to structure my life the way I wanted with my time. I've always been very, very well organized with my time. I still am to this day. I'm checklist, check, all the things I need to do every day. If I don't get it done, it's carried over to the next day. I like to be very, very productive. I like to get a lot accomplished in each and every day. So, Watchtower didn't teach me that. Actually, school did. Studying really hard, all the classes, doing my homework, studying for exams and so forth. But anyway, I loved the idea of being able to have freedom of my time, that I could structure my time with my life how I wanted to. That's one thing I really loved. Another thing I really loved that brought a lot of joy in my life was being able to make new friends, healthy friends, a new sense of community. Because of course, when you leave the organization, no matter what the reason is, I disassociated myself. But, they're just fake friends because they don't want anything to do with you and they're judgmental. So I really didn't want to have anything to do with them either because I was done. And I was able to develop a new community of real healthy friends, people who are intelligent, going to college, setting goals, wanting to, have a goal in their careers, what direction they wanted to head, whether it was legal, engineering, medicine, you name it. It was just wonderful to meet these people who were doing the very best they could to make the most of their life. And I really, really enjoyed that. Anything else you wanted to say?
No.
Okay. So for me, going to college was a dream come true. It develops your critical thinking skills. And of course, I was able to set career goals. I would never, ever have changed that in my life. Getting a college education was number one priority for me over marriage or kids, because I really needed to develop myself to my full capacity as far as who I wanted to become. And in order to do that, I wouldn't have those skills or that background to be able to share with somebody else.
Yeah, just a thought on, I was watching on YouTube and they had one of the governing body members was on there and he was saying, one of the main reasons we don't want you going to college is you become arrogant and think you're above other people.
It's not true.
It's not true at all.
No, it's not true.
It's not true. The reason I don't want you to college is because you're going to develop skills on how to reason, critical thinking.
Right.
They don't want you doing that because once you start thinking in a critical way, you're going to leave the Watchtower and you're probably going to take some people with you.
Well,
And that's what you don't want.
and you know what?
That's why I did this fellowship.
Yeah, Nor was the one, well, they instill that fear, you're going to become an atheist, all this horrible stuff, worldly people. Anyway, some of the best people I ever met were in college, okay? Some of the professors and everyone, oh my gosh. Anyway, let's see, Nor was the one who put that understanding in the organization, no college education, and found out that's because he never had a college education. So he didn't want anybody to go to college, except, now let's go back on this. Schroeder, is it Schroeder?
Schroeder's
Yeah,
son.
Schroeder's son. Was Schroeder one of the governing body members?
Yeah.
Okay, well, his son was able to go to law school on Watchtower's dime and take the bar exam and pass it because Watchtower offered that to him. The other one, what's the other one's name, Rich?
He
Head
said
of the legal department.
Brumley.
Philip Brumley.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a plumber. And yet, of course, Watchtower, for some reason, offered him to go to law school, which is not cheap at all. And he passed it. And he's not only one of the attorneys for Watchtower, but he is the head attorney. Brumley, B as in Barbara, R-U-M, L-E-Y, Brumley.
Yeah,
Philip
he
Brumley.
got just a little thing on him.
Yeah,
He got sanctioned by the courts and had to pay
Oh.
big fines
145,000, wasn't it, George?
because of his dishonesty.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll lie for Watchtower.
Mhm.
Something else I really loved about Joy after leaving the organization was just the ability to regain my ability to make decisions. My decisions were my own. When you're in the organization, you might as well take your brain and just give it to Watchtower because, they control everything that you think, do, and say, and so forth. And it was just wonderful to be able to have that ability to think for myself. Now, it was a little challenging. Yeah, I mean, I was not a born in, thank God, because then it's even more challenging. But it takes time when you're trying to make decisions. You're a little hesitant because you haven't had a lot of experience in that. And I was 17 when I got baptized. And then I left when I was 28. So it takes a little bit of time to learn to trust your own instincts, your own judgment. Yeah, if you make a mistake, so what? You make a mistake. It's not the end of the world. And you learn from it. And then as time goes on, you develop more self-confidence and you're able to do much better at making decisions that you can really trust and feel very, very good about in life, because that's important. That's very important. And one other thing I'd like to just say, and then we'll open it up to the audience because we have 20 minutes. But the one thing that I think is really important to say here, the organization instills so much fear in each and every person.
Fear and guilt.
And fear, obligation, and guilt, right? F-O-G,
Yep.
like fog, like San Francisco fog. But that fear is like so deeply instilled in each and every witness at all the meetings, all the assemblies, all their literature. And of course, that is done intentionally. Like, for example, if you leave the organization, you're going to die at Armageddon. If you're a parent, single parent, married parents, of course, you have kids to be a parent, and you leave the organization, your kids are going to die at Armageddon. Now, What a horrible, evil thing to say. I mean, that is done intentionally so that people will be afraid to leave, or if they leave, they come running back. But, I have to tell you, I had that for a while. I really did. But, this show, Six Greens, has been incredible to help me with my mental health, answered many, many of my questions. And I'll tell you why I do not have that fear of Armageddon. The reason why I don't is because Watchtower has all these false prophecies. They're new light. They're a very high control cult versus a Christian religion. They're a man-made organization, and they're terrified to be exposed of their lies. Now, when you take all that into consideration, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's absolutely nothing to be afraid of with regards to Watchtower, talking about Armageddon, Armageddon, Armageddon. God created us for a purpose, to have life with meaning and to be full of love, joy, and peace. And, the other fruit of the Spirit as well. But those are the big ones: love, joy, and peace. And Watchtower is just the opposite. It steals people's joy. It definitely steals people's peace of mind. And, when you're in the organization long enough, you can really seriously see the cracks that there is no genuine love. It's very hypocritical.
I have a thought. The Bible tells us 365. It's easy to remember because it's 365 days in a year.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us, don't be afraid.
Right.
Don't be afraid.
Right.
What's the governing body tell you? Be afraid. Armageddon's coming. Be afraid of this fellowship. Be afraid that Satan's going to get you. Be afraid.
Of the
Be afraid.
elders. Yeah.
And if I can tell you this, when you're fearful, there's no joy.
Oh, no.
Fear and joy don't work in somebody's brain at the same time.
Right.
And they always want you fearful. If you don't go out service
For
on
being
Saturday,
blood guilty?
you are blood guilty.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible.
You're blood guilty.
Oh, yeah.
Jehovah's sheep are out there. You have to go out and find them.
Right.
And if you don't, you're blood guilty.
Right.
Fear, 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 fear.
Yeah.
And when there's fear, there's no joy.
Well, and people do it out of obligation. I mean, I know when I was in there, I had heard things, not anyone in specific, but I'm just talking about overall. There were so many of the brothers and sisters that really didn't enjoy going out door to door. Who does? You know, it's Saturday morning. Most people work during the week. And when it's Saturday morning, they want to sleep in. They don't want someone ringing their doorbell, talking to them about the Watchtower and the Awake, right? They don't want that. So anyway, that's just what I wanted to say in terms of joy. You know, I look back, I'll tell you, I'm serious. I am so grateful. I woke up. I am so grateful. I left when I left. I am so grateful I never committed suicide, which was right there in front of me. I am so grateful for Rick having the show, meeting my husband, meeting all of you. I am so, so grateful. I feel like my heart has been healed. I feel a tremendous amount of love and joy for each and every one of you. That's because I have a lot of healthy love and joy inside my heart, because of being healed from the wounds, the spiritual abuse of Watchtower. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Well, folks, hit *6 if you'd like to comment. How did you feel when you found out that the Watchtower was a scam, that it was a fraud, that it was a cult?
Joy, or even joy, honey.
Did joy, and I would ask the audience, tell us, do you feel joy now in your life? Are you a person that
feel like you're healing?
Yeah. Do you feel like you're healing? Do you have a positive outlook in the future? *6.
It's a process too.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Is this Stefan?
Hi, this is Stefan. Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Hi,
Steph.
I'm really enjoying the show. I'm really enjoying the show, and unfortunately, I was driving when Brother Borgie was making his opening remarks, because there was something that he said that really struck a chord with me, and I'll see if I can remember it maybe later on. How did I feel when I realized that Watchtower was a fraud? I would say angry, because I'm African American, and there were many opportunities, you know, from going to college and just even business opportunities that I could have participated in, that I opted out of because this is the truth, and Armageddon is right around the corner, and, you know, you don't need college education when the end of the system is coming. And my whole life, I can remember when I was in grammar school, I was told, oh, you're never going to get to high school. You don't have to worry about high school.
Oh, yes.
Get to high school. Well, you're never going to have, you don't need college. You know, the end is right around the corner. You know, so then you don't go to college, which I did eventually go, but it wasn't in the natural order of just going right out of high school. But thank goodness I did. But even that, there was a lot of criticism and animosity that I endured from, you know, the congregation, because I did, in fact, go to school. So I would say, going back to your question, I was angry. I still feel a certain level of anger. Like I said, when you think about all the missed opportunities that you have. And then, you know, we did so many things because of the organization. Probably the person you married, if in the quote unquote truth, probably would not have married. And that was true for me. And so that, of course, sets you back. That, of course, sets you back in life. So, but at the same time, once you realize, of course, that it's not true, then I'm in a much different place than probably a lot of the listeners, and I won't go into it, but I'm in a completely different place. So I have no fear of the Watchtowers, Jehovah, and certainly of Watchtower and the governing idiots and the elders. I have no fear of that.
Mhm.
I don't have a fear of the Bible. There's no Armageddon that's coming. None of that. So, I just joined humanity. And for the first time ever in my life, when I left 7 or 8 years ago, whatever it was, I joined humanity. And I was just doing yard work. There was a gentleman walking through selling God knows what. And we spent 30 minutes just talking, laughing, talking. You would have thought we've known each other. I insisted that he have some water. And we sat out there and we had water and this and that. Now, as a witness, I would have never done that.
Okay. Yep.
Like whatever he's selling, I'm not interested. And if I can't witness to him and get him to buy into my Jehovah, take a Watchtower and Awake magazine, there's not a whole lot of point in us talking. That's not there anymore. When I see people, I just see everybody as a brother and a sister. And if we can talk and have a good time, we do. If I can help them or they can help me, I'll find out that they do. So I enjoy that connection, and I see the world, meaning the planet, the people on it, all the problems that are on it, and I see them for what they are, and try to get in where I fit in and see if I can help somebody and all the rest of that. And that brings me tremendous joy. My outlook on life, I think as anybody, you take care of your body, which is something I certainly never thought of as a witness. So why do I need to take care of my body? I'm going to get a new one.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know you better take care of the one that you have. So you start to change that outlook and all the rest of that. I'm going to be moving from the home that I currently live in. I told my neighbors, because I changed my relationship with my neighbors, and I instead of keeping them sort of, at arm's distance, I embraced them, and they in turn embraced me. I told the one neighbor, she was almost coming to tears. It was about to make me cry. Just talking about it now. 2 days later, she comes and rings the doorbell and hands me a big cake, which I didn't need because I almost ate the whole thing in one day. They almost started crying. They all insist that we keep in touch and this and that. Now, as a witness, I would have never had that reaction. But here, my neighbors heard enough that when they heard, it almost brought them to tears, and they brought gifts over, and they come and they check on me. So the thing that I'm saying is that you begin to connect with the world, and you find out that these quote-unquote worldly people, and I hate that term. I almost want to slap people when they say that. I say non-witnesses because that's what they are. These are good people. They're no different than you, and in fact, in a lot of ways, they're better because they don't cheat on their husbands and their wives. They don't molest them. They're not cheating on their taxes. They're not doing all this underhand stuff that Watchtower is doing. So in those respects, they're better. And if they work in the medical field, they're not going to let you die for lack of a blood transfusion simply because 8 men in New York told them that that's what God wants you to do. So I'm rather put my life in their hands.
That's
so you get connected to humanity. So all in all, I have no regrets. I look at everything in life and I ask myself, how did I feel about this? And the one question I always go back to, if I had to do this all over again, I have done it. So if I ask myself, if I'm in a good relationship, and I would say, okay, if I were to go back and say, okay, I have an option to marry this person or not marry this person, if the answer is no, then that means it wasn't a good marriage, no matter how you paint it. When I go back and ask myself, after everything that I know about this organization and the way that I was raised, would I have made the same decision? And the answer is absolutely not. I would have done all of the opposite things that Watchtower said to do. I would have stayed in school. I would have dated. I would have had friends all over. I would have connected to my biological family in a way that I never did. As a witness, I would have done everything that they said not to do except for self-destructive things. And I know I would have been better off. The answer is no. I did not enjoy my time as a witness, and I certainly wouldn't do it again. Thanks, guys. I'm going to go back on mute.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, Stefan.
That was well said. Thank you. Anybody else? Star 6. How do you feel?
Hi, Connie, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, this is GR from Michigan.
Hi, GR.
And I'm reminded, you talked about earlier, I'm reminded of Matthew 11:30, where he says that my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Right.
And the requirements on witnesses are anything but that.
Very true.
Good point.
Very true.
Yep.
You know, like in like Mormonism, they have to do a 2-year mission trip,
Right,
What's the easy burden on that?
right. 2 years and then they're done.
Or-
That's for sure. Mhm.
And then, when I was younger, they wanted me to get 10 hours a month in field service before I got baptized.
Mhm.
And we had 3 different meetings a night back then.
Right. Yes, we did.
That requires more than a good heart.
Plus, if you work full time on top of it, or you work more than 40 hours, it was a very, very exhausting schedule. There
It's
was
a
no
part-time
time
job
for rest at all.
in and of itself.
Right. It was very exhausting. And you never could do enough, and it never was enough. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I used to think of that scripture a lot too. I used to think, Jesus says that, if you follow me, follow me, my load is light. It's not burdensome. And I thought, well, why is it so burdensome being a JW? Something is really wrong here. And then you come to realize, because you're not following Jesus, you're following a corporation that's run by 8 men, the governing body. And they're just slave drivers. That's all it is. It's just a corporation like any corporation, and policies and procedures. And you just follow their rules and regulations. It has nothing to do with Christianity, nothing to do with God, and certainly nothing to do with Jesus Christ, following him.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
you said it. It's run more like a corporation than it is
Yeah.
a religion.
Yeah.
Well, it is a corporation.
If you ever read their mission statement, it does not ever claim to be a religion. That's very interesting. Most JWs are not aware of that.
Fair enough. And as the caller said before me, he says that he doesn't take any positive experiences out of it. He wishes he never got involved with it. That's also what I think.
Yeah.
I was
the
all
organization-
in. I was born in, but I was all in for about 6 years. And I wish I wasn't involved at all.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're born in, you don't have a choice. You're brought into it because of either one parent or both parents.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one.
You think the way you're taught to think. You don't think on your own. You don't do your own due diligence. Everything is, planned out for you.
Your whole life.
Your whole life is planned. Is planned out.
And as a child, you always want your parents' approval and you want their love. So as a child, you do what they expect you to do or what they tell you to do, even if that includes getting baptized really young. And it's a real challenge. There are more young people today, that in the organization, they're not, they're leaving. They're leaving the organization big time.
They use so much coercion.
And I write that in the comments every time, is that being an ex-witness is not an abnormality. Like born-ins are 1/3 of them stay, so you're in the minority if you do stay a witness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Same thing with those who serve in Bethel.
You just read my mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those serve in Bethel.
70% leave. They leave the
They don't just
organization.
leave Bethel. They just leave the
They
organization.
leave the organization because
Because-
they see what's going on inside Bethel.
Yeah, there's a lot of drunks.
I
There's a lot of immorality.
I only took a tourist trip to Bethel, and it was 3 or 4 days, and I couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew how bad it was, but I knew I didn't want to stay there, and I knew I didn't want to do that a year from now.
Yeah. Well, back in the 70s, I remember the brothers had a commitment of staying for 4 years. And they have to be up. Their rooms have to be immaculate. They have to go downstairs and be at morning worship at 7:00 a.m. And if they don't even have their bed made and the room spotless, the cleaners, the house cleaners, the sisters who are the house cleaners, they write them up. Talk about, oh my God, like putting it in your personnel file.
And when I visited, this was like the mid 2000s, like 2005, 2006.
Mhm.
they still had the clocks on the TV to tell you when to eat dinner, just like 1984.
Oh my. How much time did they give you to have dinner, I wonder?
Countdown to tell you when to eat.
That's horrible. That's like the military, Rich.
Yeah.
It's institutionalization. That's what it is. Some people need that. Some people can't think for themselves. They just want to take their brain and give it to somebody else, and you make all my decisions and choices. That's what the organization is. It's just like being in the military. There's some men and women, they love being told what to do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Huh, Rich?
Yep, absolutely.
When you're in the military, you didn't dare
Well,
question anything. You didn't disagree.
That's what they have the military for. I mean, at least they take care of you, and there's more people who get to experience that. It's not like a niche thing like the witnesses that throw you under the bus the first mistake you make.
Well, that's a good point. If you spend 20 years in the military, you have a pension for life and you have all your medical for life.
Yeah.
You know, they take care of you.
A lot
Like
of
the Catholic
benefits.
Church took care of my aunt, who was a nun. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, they throw you out 40 years, doesn't matter. If you can't feed yourself, if you can't even collect Social Security, they don't care.
Right.
But they'll tell you when you jdavid.org, oh, we love you. We love you. And that's what I hope my part tonight with is they don't love you.
Mhm.
They love if they do love you, they love your donations. They love your free labor. They love your adoration. They love the power
Right.
that you give them.
Right.
But they don't love you like Jesus loved you. They wouldn't die for you.
You know, they're worth $7 billion. Just think what they could do for each of the Bethelites that they threw out on the streets. You know, they could have given them a stipend. You know, what's so unfortunate is that these brothers and sisters thought that, like I said, like job security. Oh, I will be here for life. I don't have to worry about growing old. No, it's nothing more than a corporation. And now they're really up a creek, like they say, up a creek with no paddle.
Mhm.
They're in serious trouble. Can
Yeah.
you imagine being
And they're
start at 20, say 40 years, you're 60. Say you're 60 years old. And, you know, a lot of people are retiring at that time.
You're-
And yet you've got to be able to financially support yourself out in the world. Where are you going to live? How are you going to pay for rent? How are you going to put down first month, last month security deposit when you have no money?
What do you got to put in a resume?
Yeah, what are you going to put in the resumes, right?
My goodness.
Worked for the Watchtower Society for 40 years
Yeah.
for free as
No.
a free labor.
And the person looking at your resume, why didn't you stay there?
Right.
Oh, they kicked me out. Oh, yeah, I'm going to hire you.
No, it's really sad, very, very sad. And there are a lot of
No.
people who are elderly that are in dire straits financially because of what this organization has done to them.
The only person that I've heard,
very sad all around.
oh,
Yeah,
it is. The
very.
only person that I've heard that has gotten any kind of monetary help was Tony Morris.
Hmm.
And they gave him a house to live in.
Yeah, they bought him a house in North Carolina, I think.
Yeah,
it's,
they
it's
did.
nothing great.
And
It's-
even then, it was
it's
like a
nothing great.
$300,000 home,
It's nothing great. We've seen
which
it.
is modest by today's standards.
It's just a brick home,
The
single level.
the
It's
reason
nothing
they
great.
gave him the home is to keep his mouth shut,
Shut.
because he knows where a lot of the bodies are buried.
Mhm.
They don't want another Ray Franz
Yeah.
roaming around
Right,
casting aspersions on them,
right.
which he certainly could have done. So here, take this house, live in it till you die, and keep your mouth shut. Because once he starts talking,
And speaking of Ray Franz, I was what would you call it, physically out, mentally in for about
Yeah.
9 months.
Yeah.
And then I watched the documentary Witness of Jehovah,
Mm,
and
okay.
it was from 1986. And it's kind of done in like an unsolved mysteries type of style documentary.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was wondering if you watched that at all.
we watch a lot of JW stuff. We watch almost every day now. And there's so many good programs on YouTube. There's a lot of good ones. JT and Lady C is an excellent one. There's just so many.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah, he's talking
What
about.
I like about JT is he seems like he's a brother, like he'd be like a good brother from when you were in, but
yeah.
only now he's on the other side telling you the other side of the coin.
Oh, yeah. He tells you what it was like when he was a Bethelite, and he was also a Bethelite elder. And he talks about the money. I mean, they've been doing their show for several years now, and he just tells it like it is, which is so wonderful because the average rank and file does not have the privilege of seeing things from an elder or even a ministerial servant's point of view. So JT,
And he does it in a very common sense base. Like he comes at it very logically and in a very realistic way.
Yep. He had parts in the circuit assemblies and also the district conventions. So he gives you a lot of insight that the average JW has no clue because Watchtower doesn't want you to know it.
Well, I'm going to close our program down now. We're running a few minutes over.
Yeah, Rick
I would
wants to-
just suggest to everyone, make your plans now to be in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Put your money aside. You'll have a great time. You'll learn a lot. And please tell other people.
Yeah.
Not like the Watchtower told you, you're going to be blood guilty if you don't. But there are a lot of people that really need to hear the messaging that's going to come out of this convention. Rick's gone through so much trouble to put this together.
A lot of work.
All
involved.
on his dime. Just want you to know that.
A lot of work.
All on his dime. And I hope people remember that one. A nice card to Rick would be nice when you get up there.
But it'd
Anyway,
be like a big family reunion.
yeah, it would be.
That's
and,
how I look at
and
it.
we're so looking forward to seeing you all.
You're going to love meeting Rick and Susan. You're going to love meeting them in person. It's very special.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dick and Constance. Your commission check will be in the mail. Yeah. So no, it's. I'm glad you bring that up because it is unbelievable the amount of response I've been getting. People calling me, people emailing me, and this is something. It's going to be a history-making moment, and it really is in the ex-witness world. And it's going to be live streamed. There's a motion picture a video there being made worldwide. It's going to be shown. So we got a lot to look forward to, and looking forward to you guys coming up. And we're putting everything together. I built a stage this week. The drummers stand. We got an 8-piece band. We're going to have a dance floor. It's all coming together. And, man, we are going to have a rockin' awesome night. It's going to be great.
Nice. It'll be here before we know it.
Oh, yeah, another 5 weeks, and we're there. So looking forward to seeing you guys. And thank you. Good show tonight. A lot of people coming in. So keep up the good work and keep standing tall. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rick.
All righty. Well, there we go. That's Dick and Constance Borgie. Well, don't go anywhere. We have got more programming coming up on the 6 screens tonight. We have got, JW World News. Do you guys know Platt Jonas from Norway?
Yeah.
You see him at the goat farm. Well, he's coming on here next. He's going to come on. It's very late. It's only about 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning over in Norway. So he's going to be on with us very shortly. So why don't you stay with us, stay on this YouTube channel, and stay on our Facebook channel and on our radio network. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for spending your time with Dick and Constance Borgie. All right, we'll end it there.